This video is to give an example of how to do a close reading with an article or a text or a speech in class as directed by this handout. You may not necessarily need this handout, but these are the steps and we're going to take a look at it. It helps if you have this handout with you to kind of go through the steps that I'm going to go through. Here's an example of an article. This article is from your Springboard Zinc articles that you can access digitally. So if you want to actually read this article so you understand more these annotations and close reading, you can access that by going into your digital Springboard and going through Zinc and looking up the article called The Cheapest Generation, or you could maybe just Google search for it. It was published in The Atlantic. Okay, when you do a close reading, you do a first reading, you want to know the title of the piece. So this one is called The Cheapest Generation. And you can see that it was published really small. It says The Atlantic. It's in the September 2012 issue. And one of the first things you want to do is make a prediction of what this was about. So you can see here that this student made a prediction of maybe they don't spend money because they're called the cheapest generation. Also, they predicted, if this is from 2012, I wonder if any facts have changed since then. Okay, so you can see there they made a prediction. The next thing you want to do is number the paragraphs. So right here, you can see the paragraphs are numbered, 1, 2, 3, everywhere where a new paragraph starts, 4, 5, 6. You want to number the paragraph, so make sure you've done that. The next thing that you want to do is read the article all the way through. Then after you've read the article, or while you're reading it, you want to first identify the main claim. The main claim is the overall claim for the article. In other words, what is the big idea or the main thesis behind the entire text, speech, or article? In the case of this one right here, we thought that the main claim for this one doesn't come until paragraph 6, where it says that for millennials, they are showing a part of a permanent generational shift in tastes and spending habits. So notice that sometimes the main claim may not happen at the very start of the article. Sometimes it can happen farther down in the article. Sometimes you may not even see it until the very end of the article. Once you've identified the main claim, highlight it in pink, and then what you want to do is annotate in your own words what it's saying. So right here, you can see it says the main claim is that this generation is changing how they do things. Then next, you want to look for the support for the claim. The support for the claim, you're going to highlight in blue. You might want to think of the support kind of like topic sentences. So in other words, in an essay, you highlight your thesis pink and your paragraphs, topic sentences are blue. The same here. So for this article, you can see that we highlighted one of the evidence was that today's young people don't drive like their predecessor does. So that's another sort of subclaim. And then over here, it says today's young people will eventually want to buy cars as much as their parents and grandparents did. Then what you want to do is, after you've identified the supporting evidence, you want to look for the data, and you're going to highlight that in green. The data is going to be the facts, statistics, quotes, data, anything like that to prove the blue supporting evidence. So in other words, this one says that today's young people don't drive like they used to. Now they have to prove that with a fact or evidence, and so in green you can see that the next sentence says, in 2010, adults between the ages of 21 and 34 bought just 27% of all new vehicles sold in America, down from the peak of 38% in 1985. So you can see here that they've given facts and evidence to prove their supporting claim, which goes back to supporting their main claim. During a first read, you primarily are looking just to find what is the main idea, what are the supporting evidences or the sub-ideas, and what are the facts that they use to prove that. Then the last thing you want to do is just summarize in your own words, either if your teacher wants it on a separate paper, or you can put it at the bottom. Right here there's a short summary. It says, this article discusses how there is a change generationally with millennials and how they are speaking differently. Now it's time for the second reading. On the second reading, on the handout, you're going to be looking for the author's purpose, ethos, pathos, logos, rhetorical strategies, and words, phrases, and sentences. And it's advisable that you do it in a different color of ink than the first time. So first of all, you can see here that right here, this annotation notes that the author begins with an anecdote to draw in the reader. Instead of saying the claim outright, they start by talking about Ford's new Super Mini, the Fiesta. So there's kind of an organizational analysis of what the author's doing. Then also right here, they're identifying logos, that this green, they're using logos, facts, and data. Right here, off to the side, they're noticing diction. Diction is word choice. So, for example, the quote here says, quirky, eco-conscious individualism. They circled that and they noted diction, quirky, millennials are odd, but the connotation here is positive. So, in other words, instead of saying that they're weird, they called them quirky. So they're noticing the diction choice here. They're also noticing overall that in this paragraph, the author is continuing with data and quotes. Not only is that logos, but it's also building the credibility of the author. Also here, you can see that the author says the millennial generation is just waiting to be unlocked. So they noticed that they're making a comparison between a lock, maybe like a treasure. And then lastly here, it says, and the answer has large implications for the future shape of the economy and the speed of recovery. So they're noticing that that's pathos. It's an appeal to emotion, especially fear, because it's basically saying, do we have to worry about our economy if they're not spending and buying things? So, and then lastly too, forgot to mention this, but the rhetorical triangle. In the first reading, you want to have the rhetorical triangle, which is the authors, the audience, primary and secondary, and the subject. So the subject is millennials, the audience is the readers of the Atlantic Monthly, and the authors are basically writers for the Atlantic. Now, in other pieces, this will change, and it will help you to determine kind of more, to get a better idea of how the purpose is achieved when you consider the rhetorical triangle. Okay, so if you back up and now look at it, this is basically what an annotated close read would look like for full credit. Notice that I didn't go in every single paragraph and find diction, syntax, ethos, pathos, logos. We're not saying that you have to do that every single paragraph. We're saying broadly throughout the piece you should be looking for claims, supporting evidence, quotes, facts, that you should be looking for their purpose, ethos, pathos, logos, rhetorical strategies, syntax, and diction. And you use all this to get ready to either write a précis or some other kind of writing, or even a Socratic discussion. So basically, each page of your article, text, or speech should look like this if you're looking to get full credit. Here's another example. This is a Springboard text. This is in your Springboard book. This is Veterans Day, Never Forget Their Duty. This is page 6 of your Springboard book. Notice again the rhetorical triangle here, all the annotations, second audience. So again, This is what you want it to look like if you are going to be getting full credit for your annotations in close reading, whether it be Springboard or an article that the teacher gives you or whatnot.